Snow White. Once upon a time, in a faraway castle, there lived a lovely little princess named Snow White. Her vain and wicked stepmother, the Queen, feared that someday Snow White would be more beautiful than herself. Each day the Queen consulted her magic mirror. "Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?" she asked. "You, O Queen, are the fairest in the land," the mirror would reply. The Queen dressed Snow White in rags and forced her to work very hard. Snow White obeyed the Queen without complaint. But one day, the mirror had a new reply to the Queen's question. "It is the Princess Snow White who is the fairest in the land." In a rage, the wicked Queen summoned her huntsman. "Take Snow White far into the forest," she said. "There you will kill her. Bring back her heart in this golden box." The huntsman took Snow White deep into the forest. He told Snow White about the Queen's evil order that he was to kill her and bring back her heart. "She's mad, jealous of you. Run away, hide, and never come back," he warned. Snow White was very frightened. She did what the huntsman said and ran deep into the forest. Faster and faster the princess ran, until she could run no further. She fell to the ground and burst into tears. But when she looked up, she saw dozens of forest animals all around her. "I really feel quite happy now," she said as she walked along with the forest animals, "but I do need a place to sleep at night." The animals knew just where to take her, a perfect little cottage amongst the trees. She ran toward the house, over a little bridge and up to a window. She peered in, but could see nothing, and since no one seemed to be at home, she went inside. Inside the cottage, Snow White saw 7 little chairs. As she looked around her, she saw that everything was quite untidy. There were dishes in the sink, dust on the fireplace, and cobwebs everywhere. "It must be 7 untidy little children who live here," she remarked to the animals. "I know. We'll clean the house and surprise them." They swept the floors, tidied up the clothes, and polished the silver until it sparkled. When they finished downstairs, Snow White and the animals went upstairs to see what they could find there. At the top of the stairs was a door, and beyond the door, Snow White saw 7 little beds. Then she yawned. "I'm a little sleepy myself," she said. She stretched across 3 beds and fell fast asleep. Meanwhile, in a cave nearby, 7 little men were busy digging for diamonds. They were the very same dwarfs who lived in the cottage that Snow White had found in the forest. It was time to return home. As the dwarfs marched toward their cottage, they sang a happy song. But when the dwarfs reached the cottage, Doc the leader noticed a light on in the house and smoke coming from the chimney. "Something's in there," he cried. The dwarfs bravely followed Doc to the house to investigate. The dwarfs opened the door and crept slowly into the house. "Look, the floor's been swept," said Doc. "Chair's been dusted," said Grumpy. "There's dirty work afoot. Our window's been washed," added Happy. Bashful looked up at the ceiling. "Gosh," he said, "our cobwebs are missing." Suddenly, Dopey bolted from the bedroom with a look of terror on his face. The dwarfs slowly tiptoed into the bedroom where they saw a sheeted figure stretched across the beds. Doc quickly pulled the sheets back. "Why, it's a girl," he exclaimed. Grumpy wasn't happy about seeing a girl in his bed. "Wake her up and ask her to leave," he grumbled. And with all the noise, Snow White began to wake. Snow White was quite startled to see 7 little men peering at her from the foot of the bed. Then she introduced herself and told them all about the wicked Queen. "Please don't send me away," she pleaded. "If you do, she'll kill me." The dwarfs took pity on Snow White, and when she told them that she would clean and cook for them, they quickly decided that she must stay. She thanked the dwarfs for their kindness and told them the story of how she had run through the forest to hide herself from the wicked Queen. The dwarfs agreed that they would do their best to protect Snow White from any danger. Back at the castle, the Queen was enraged. The magic mirror had told her that Snow White still lived. Furiously, the Queen descended a winding staircase to a dark dungeon beneath the castle. From a magic book of spells, the Queen mixed together a terrible potion. Following the recipe carefully, she drank the potion to transform herself into an ugly old hag. A scary wind blew through the dungeon, and the Queen screamed as her hair turned white and her skin became old and wrinkled. She took a fresh apple and slowly dipped it into a bubbling cauldron, and now, she cackled, A special sort of death for one so fair. One taste of this poisoned apple and the victim's eyes will close forever. Then I shall be the fairest one of all." Disguised as a peddler woman, she left the castle. An evil gleam flashed in her eyes as she hobbled towards the forest, with a basket of shiny red apples in her hand. Snow White's pretty face will not be around much longer, she thought. Closer and closer, the wicked queen made her way towards the little cottage where Snow White now lived. The forest grew silent and all the animals scurried away to hide as the old woman approached the clearing where the cottage was. The 7 dwarfs had been working all day and were due back from the diamond mine. Snow White was busy preparing a pie for dinner, and as she worked she thought about the day she would meet a handsome prince who would take her away to a castle for a magnificent wedding. "No pie until you've washed and scrubbed," said Snow White to the dwarfs when they arrived. "Let me see your hands." The dwarfs slowly pulled their hands from behind their backs and showed them to Snow White. "Worse than I thought," she said. After dinner it was time for a party. The dwarfs played their musical instruments while Snow White danced around the room. As a special surprise, Dopey climbed onto Sneezy's shoulders, then he covered them both up with a long cloak. Now he was as tall as Snow White. At the end of the party, the dwarfs quietly wandered upstairs and fell fast asleep in their little beds. Snow White tucked each of them in snugly, before locking the doors and windows and heading off to bed herself. The next morning, the dwarfs set out for the diamond mine. "Now be careful," said Doc as he prepared to leave. "Don't let anybody into the house." One by one they said goodbye to Snow White and each received a kiss on the head in return. Even Grumpy didn't seem to mind being kissed. Shortly after the dwarfs had left, an old woman appeared outside the cottage window. "All alone, my pet?" she asked. "It's apple pies that make the men folks' mouths water," she said, offering Snow White a taste from a juicy red apple she had in her basket. Sensing something was wrong, the animals knew they must find the dwarfs and bring them back to help. But they were too late. Snow White had taken a bite of the poisoned apple and fallen into a deep sleep. Tears streamed down their faces as they knelt beside their beloved Snow White. One day, riding through the trees, Prince Charming saw Snow White lying in her glass coffin. Carefully he removed the lid and gazed upon her beauty. Slowly the prince knelt down and gently kissed Snow White. Snow White began to stir. She sat up and rubbed her eyes. She was alive! Shouts of joy rang out as the dwarfs hugged each other with delight. Snow White kissed each dwarf goodbye. Then the prince lifted her up onto his horse and led her away to the castle on the hill. And they lived happily ever after. The end.